Direct and indirect speech. There are two ways by which we may report or narrate what a speaker said. First one is direct speech and second one is indirect speech. Direct speech. In direct speech, the speaker's exact words are given. For example, he said, "I am going home." Note the punctuation. The exact words of the speaker are put in inverted commas. There is a comma after the reporting verb. The quoted words begin with a capital letter. Indirect speech. In indirect speech, only the substance of what the speaker said is given and not the exact words. For example, he said that he was going home. Note that the indirect speech is in the form of ordinary sentences and has no special punctuation. Rules for changing direct into indirect speech. She said, "I write a poem." Here, said is a reporting verb. Rule 1. If the reporting verb is in the past tense, the reported speech, that is indirect speech, also must be in the past. That is, present tense is changed into past, past into past perfect, and future into future conditional tense. Simple present becomes simple past. For example, she said, "I drink tea." It is in direct speech. She said that she drank tea is in indirect speech. Present continuous becomes past continuous. For example, he said, "I am writing a poem." This is in direct speech. He said that he was writing a poem. This is in indirect speech. Present perfect becomes past perfect. Example, he said, "I have completed a work." Direct speech. He said that he had completed the work. Indirect speech. Present perfect continuous becomes past perfect continuous. For example, she said, "I have been eating an apple." Direct speech. She said that she had been eating an apple. Indirect speech. Simple past becomes past perfect. For example, he said, "I wrote a letter." Direct speech. He said that he had written a letter. Indirect speech. Past continuous becomes past perfect continuous. Example, she said, "I was writing a poem." Direct speech. She said that she had been writing a poem. Indirect speech. Past perfect and past perfect continuous. No change. For example, he said, "I had written a letter." Direct speech. He said that he had written a letter. Indirect speech. Future tense becomes future conditional tense. For example, he said, "I will write a letter." Direct speech. He said that he would write a letter. Indirect speech. She said, "I shall eat pudding." Direct speech. She said that she would eat pudding. Indirect speech. Note: when shall is used with the second or third persons, then shall in direct speech is changed to should in reported speech. For example, the manager said to the officer, "You shall do extra duty for 3 days." Direct speech. The manager told the officer that he should do extra duty for 3 days. Indirect speech. The manager ordered all shall submit the files. Direct speech. The manager ordered that all should submit the files. Indirect speech. Will is changed into would. Shall is changed into should. Can is changed into could. May is changed into might. Has or have is changed into had. Am or is changed into was. Or is changed into were. Must is changed into had to. Rule 2. If the reporting verb is in the present or future tense, then the tense of the verb is not changed in the indirect speech. For example, he says, "I write poems." Direct speech. He says that he writes poems. Indirect speech. She says, "I am eating an apple." Direct speech. She says that she is eating an apple. Indirect speech. He says, "I will do the work." Direct speech. He says that he will do the work. Indirect speech. He will say, "I write a poem." Direct speech. He will say that he writes a poem. Indirect speech. She will say, "I have written a poem." Direct speech. She will say that she has written a poem. Indirect speech. Rule 3. If it is a statement, then that is used for after the reporting verb. If it is a statement, then that is used after the reporting verb. For example, he said, "I am coming." Direct speech. He said that he was coming. Indirect speech. Rule 4. The first and second persons in the direct speech should become third in the indirect speech. I is changed into he or she. We into they. You into they or he or she. My into his or her. Our into their. Your into their, his or her. Me into him or her. Rule 5. If the person addressed to reports the speech, then the second person in the direct becomes first person in the indirect. For example, he said to me, "You are a liar." Direct speech. He told me that I was a liar. Indirect speech. Rule 6. Words expressing nearness in time and place are generally changed into words expressing distance. Now becomes then. This becomes that. These becomes those. Here becomes there. Ago becomes before. Thus becomes so. Today becomes that day. Tomorrow becomes the next day, the following day, etc. Yesterday becomes the day before, the previous day, etc. Last night becomes the night before. Next week or next year becomes the following week or the following year. Last week or last year becomes the previous week or the previous year. Rule 7. To report question in indirect speech, the reporting verb is changed into asked, enquired, wanted to know, etc. For example, he said to me, "What are you doing here?" Direct speech. He asked me what I was doing there. Indirect speech. Form is reporting verb plus suitable object plus question word plus subject plus verb. You said to me, "How many pencils do you have?" Direct speech. You asked me how many pencils I had. Indirect speech. My mother said to me, "Why didn't you pray in the morning?" Direct speech. My mother asked me why I had not prayed in the morning. Indirect speech. Note: the interrogative word order changes to affirmative word order, and therefore the question mark is also omitted in the indirect speech. Rule 8. If it is an yes or no question, then if or whether is used after the reporting verb. For example, she said to him, "Did you hear the news?" Direct speech. She asked him if he had heard the news. Indirect speech. She asked him whether he had heard the news. Indirect speech. He said to them, "Are you happy?" Direct speech. He asked them if they were happy. Indirect speech. She said, "Has he gone?" Direct speech. She asked if he had gone. Indirect speech. The form is reporting verb plus if or whether plus subject plus verb. You said to me, "Will you give your pencil to me?" Direct speech. You asked me whether I would give my pencil to you. Indirect speech. Rani said, "Vani, can I teach you English grammar?" Direct speech. Rani asked Vani whether she could teach her English grammar. Indirect speech. Rule 9. If it is a command, then change the reporting verb to told, ordered, or commanded. For example, "Sit down, Rani," she said. Direct speech. She told Rani to sit down. Indirect speech. The judge said to the witness, "Tell the truth." Direct speech. The judge ordered the witness to tell the truth. Indirect speech. The captain said to his men, "Stand at ease." Direct speech. The captain commanded his men to stand at ease. Indirect speech. Note how the order or command is changed into infinitive mood. For example, tell the truth is changed into to tell the truth. You can see the second question. The judge said to the witness, tell the truth. The judge ordered the witness to tell the truth is in indirect speech. So note how the order or command is changed into infinitive mood. Rule 10. Negative commands are changed into indirect by not plus infinitive. For example, the principal said to the students, don't go in. It is in direct speech. The principal asked the students not to go in. It is in indirect speech. The captain said to his soldiers, don't return the fire. Direct speech. The captain ordered his soldiers not to return the fire. Indirect speech. Rule 11a. When let is the first word in direct speech and when one person is speaking to another person. For example, Rani said to Vani, let me learn grammar. This sentence is in direct speech. The indirect speech is Rani told Vani to let her learn grammar. Rule 11b. One person speaking to many. When let is used for some suggestion, the reporting verb can be changed to suggested in the indirect speech. For example, he said, let's go for lunch. Direct speech. He suggested that we should go for lunch. Indirect speech. She said, let her come tomorrow. Direct speech. She suggested that she should come the next day. Indirect speech. Or she suggested her coming the next day. Rani said, let's not go nearer. Direct speech. Rani suggested that we should not go nearer. Indirect speech. Rule 12. Let him, them express a command, but the speaker can often have an authority over the person to whom the command is given. Rule 12. Let him or them express a command, but the speaker can often have an authority over the person to whom the command is given. For example, the village elder said, let the government start a hospital. Direct speech. The village elder said that the government should start a hospital. Indirect speech. The village elder said that the government should start a hospital. Indirect speech. Rule 13. Let him or them sometimes can express real command. For example, the captain said, let no one cross the border. Direct speech. The captain ordered that no one should cross the border. Indirect speech. Rule 14. To report a request, the reporting verb is changed into requested, begged, pleaded, entreated, etc. For example, please do not punish the boy. I said to the teacher. Direct speech. I requested the teacher not to punish the boy. Indirect speech. The anxious mother said, "Oh, doctor, please save my son's life." Direct speech. The anxious mother entreated the doctor to save her son's life. Indirect speech. Rule 15. To report a wish or an exclamation, the reporting verb is changed into exclaimed, praised, applauded, blamed, desired, wished, etc. For example, he said, "What a delightful performance." Direct speech. He exclaimed that it was a very delightful performance. Indirect speech. The boy said, "How happy I am." Direct speech. The boy exclaimed that he was very happy. Indirect speech. He said, "Alas, we lost the match." Direct speech. He exclaimed sadly that they had lost the match. Indirect speech. "Hurrah, we have won the game," the captain said. Direct speech. The captain exclaimed with joy that they had won the game. Indirect speech. "Happy New Year, Rani," I said. Direct speech. I wish Rani Happy New Year. Indirect speech. Rule 16. When the direct speech expresses a universal truth or a habitual action, the tense is not changed. The teacher said, "The earth goes round the sun." Direct speech. The teacher said that the earth goes around the sun. Indirect speech. Once again I repeat. The teacher said, "The earth goes around the sun." Direct speech. This is a universal truth. The teacher said that the earth goes around the sun. Indirect speech. He said, "Two and two make four." Direct speech. This is also a universal truth. He said, "Two and two make four." Direct speech. He said that two and two make four. Indirect speech. Here the tense will not change. She said, "I wake up at 5 a.m. every day." This is habitual action. In this case also in indirect speech we have the same tense as the direct speech. She said that she wakes up at 5 a.m. every day. Indirect speech.